So, been been reading about David. You know, he was later king, and been reading about his life. And the early part of his life, here he was a shepherd boy, and he would be out in the fields tending to his sheep, his flock. And there he is sitting there, and I'm sure, he's a young guy with a lot of energy, a lot of talent, and a lot of ability. But yet he was there in a field, and he was watching sheep. He was herding sheep. And I started thinking about his life, and I started asking myself the question, I wonder if David was ever frustrated, thinking that maybe God was calling him to something bigger, but he just didn't know what that was. I mean, it's not like we have a psychological profile on David, that he went to a psychotherapist, uh, and we have the data from that. It's not like any of that happened. We just know that we can look back and we see that God's hand was on this young guy named David. And then we can see that God raised up a King Saul, and we can see that the children of Israel were always having difficulties with the Philistines or the Assyrians, and we see Goliath enter into the equation. God raised up David, this young boy that was out taking care of sheep, to be the defender of his people. And in that moment, David said yes to God's call. And yeah, he didn't understand everything that was going on at the time. He just knew that God was calling him to defeat this big giant, and everybody else was scared of him. And David was like, there's no reason to fear a giant. I mean, we serve God. And so David picked up a few stones, and at the appropriate time, he flung a stone, hit the giant, and Goliath Goliath was defeated. The children of Israel were victorious. Later, Saul is jealous of David, goes after David. David is faithful once again, doesn't understand everything, doesn't understand God's timing, but he has a heart for the Lord, and he stays the course. And in God's time, David is placed in a position of authority over all the children as king. If you're out in a field thinking that you have all the potential in the world, but nobody's using it, or nobody notices it, or what have you, don't get wrapped up in those thoughts. Don't get wrapped up in those things. Just be patient and wait on the Lord. God is preparing you for something that He has in His plan, something that will glorify Him, not you. Sometimes He's just got to get you to that place to where your life is surrendered and you are ready to live a life that's glorified to an audience of one. I'll see you later.